So, all right. So, class is this stigma attached to certain classes will normally vote for certain things? Is there any veracity in that, or is that made up? For example, working class will always vote Labour. Upper class will always vote Conservative. Is there any truth to that? I mean, this is of opinion because ain't got no statistics here. Or do you think that's a fabrication?
Do you want to go first on this one?
Okay, so I can only speak from experience and those people I know in my circle. So I would consider that my family came from working class and we are borderline middle class. I know people that would call us middle class, but I don't believe we're quite middle class.
You do like quinoa. But carry on.
I liked that before, way before. Anyway.
Fair dues.
Anyway, yeah, so it's been a culture in my family to always vote Labour. Because the narrative of Labour is Labour care more about the people at our level of class. Also, as a youth worker, I know Labour had more funding for youth work than Conservative did. Mm-hmm. And so, to date, out of the two most dominant parties, Labour's always been the one that I guess I've looked at, sit with a serious eye. And yeah, I'm only saying that to say where I would consider I fall in with the class system. But yeah, that's it. So what say you?
I would say, well, in terms of traditionally speaking, I would say something very similar to you, if I'm honest about it. And again, to repeat, like you said before, this is our speculation. But you know, it would seem to me that is approximately a breakdown in terms of old school Labour voters. But I think there's been a bit of a sea change. Not say a sea change. I mean, I think there's been an evolution of that, and I think that has come because I think people have come to realise that very much over the last 20 years or so, Labour became Conservative light.
Conservative light.
Conservative light.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was kind of epitomised by Tony Blair's government for me, like in my perception. Again, all words are our words. We don't speak for anyone else. And because of that, and because of the slow recognition of that, I think you had maybe a bit of a switching off of the die-hard Labour voters. Plus, you have to also remember the population's ageing and moving on. So the real strong time of Labour was during the kind of like the trade union kind of period, and everyone was uniting, and Labour was a part of that, and a part of the, if not the formation of that, then at least trying to help support that in the mainstream. That changed a long time ago. All right, trade unions barely exist now and have much less power than they did 30, 40 years ago. Yeah, so that's not really a factor anymore. And in terms of the concerns of the people, I would say we still have a situation where Conservatives are the most out of touch with the least financially able parts of the population. Yeah, their concerns are very different. But at the same time, I think there's a situation where we have a lack of, it comes back to what we were talking about before, a major lack of political education, which means that people don't see when there are good things in front of them. It's maybe something we'll come to later on, but currently, Labour is led by a guy whose outlook is a lot more liberal and seems to be a lot more genuinely so than I've seen for a very long time. This is the first time in a while where I'm even slightly energised about the idea of getting one particular party into government over here.
In regards to breaking it down on a more granular level now, so we spoke about class, so we're going to speak about what's known as race. And I'm going to say that because I'm of the opinion that race is a social construct. There's one race, a human race, that's my opinion. And so obviously we're broken down into what countries we come from, what colour skin we are, but essentially we're the same. Cut the same, bleed the same, but I'm going all the way up, so let me come the way back. Okay, cool. So if we take also race and we kind of merge in a bit of culture. So culturally and ethnically or racially also as well, is that going to have an effect? Or do you believe that will have an effect on how somebody votes or doesn't vote? Because a majority of the people I know, by default, are black. Not just black Caribbean, black African as well. Majority of the people I know, a vast significant majority. And I couldn't put a percentage or a ratio on how many people are active voters and politically engaged, but I'm pretty sure that a majority are not. And when I have those conversations, most of the feedback or opinions are, it doesn't concern us, it won't affect us anyway. That system ain't for us. It's not for us anyway. So if you are voting, you're voting for a lesser of the two evils. We know that's a buzz phrase. Yeah. What's your opinion on that? Have you shared the same experience or?
Yeah, unfortunately. Across the divide, I would say it breaks down less along ethnic lines, and I know we're putting it all together, but I'd say more specifically among class socioeconomic lines.
Right.
So I think you'll find a lot of people who are sort of below the official middle class kind of hovering point, share that point of view. Far from all, but certainly enough to make it a paradigm that we recognise in that way. Mm-hmm. And I think you get a lot of people in the middle who can go either way, surprisingly. I don't think you'll find it standard like, middle class and up, we vote, we all go out there and vote, and oh my goodness, this is what we do. No, I don't think it works that way. I think there's loads of people who either just as unconcerned or who also feel like, have the legacy of that same belief, there's nothing I can do to change it, and their lives don't intersect with politics in a direct way. That's how they feel. I think it's not an uncommon place to be. I do hit this table a lot, don't I? I've got to calm down with that. All right. I think the one thing that we can definitely say for sure is that those people who have a lot of money, a lot of disposable income, people who run businesses certainly tend to take a lot more interest in it. But that is probably because they see very directly and every day how national policies affect their bottom lines, how tax treatment affects them very directly, how legacy systems, so things like inheritance tax, etc., how that affects them in their line.
Right.
So I think that much is definitely true.
Okay. So, in conclusion, we spoke about a few things today. The question that was posed was, voting, is it worthwhile to vote or not to vote? Specifically, we're talking about UK. We're talking about right now. We're in a snap election?
Yeah.
Snap election. The biggest thing on the table is Brexit. And we didn't even mention that today, and I think that's good we stayed away from it. And so, for me, everything in life is about being informed. Do I want people to go out and vote blindly? Probably not. I'd much rather they be informed. And so really it's going to take a bit of going outside of your usual channels, such as your news reports, because they are going to be biased by default, aren't they? So it's going outside of those channels, looking at opposing arguments, and then having two sides of it to say, okay, this makes sense to me, this doesn't make sense to me. I think this person's being honest, I think this person's being dishonest. I think this person's really interested in that and they're going to deliver on it, or whatever it may be. Go and do that research. However you grew up, whatever inverted commas class you grew up in, you don't need to necessarily, you do need to pay attention to that, but that doesn't need to be a barrier for you voting. Provided, I don't know what the criminal record thing is. I know in some places if you have a criminal record you can't vote. I'm not sure how that goes over here.
Don't think that applies over here.
Right.
But again, not certain of that.
Right. If you are able to vote, it behooves you to go and look, even if it's not for you, maybe for your children, if you don't have no children, for your nieces and nephews, for the future, for the world that comes, because whether or not it's official like a ref with a whistle, whether or not it's rigged, sometimes it's about weighing up, well actually, let me at least have a chance. Let me at least have a chance just to say, let me vote, because then I can tell if I voted and I know 10 other people that voted that didn't usually vote, and they each know 10 other people that didn't vote, and something's changed, maybe it's not rigged, so you can do a test. So please, get yourself informed, and then decide whether or not you're going to vote and how you're going to vote.
Absolutely. And just before we sign off, because we are about to sign off, because this is Real Conversations, I don't want to hide. So I'm going to say something really quick about Brexit.
Say it with your chest.
I'm going to do it, homie. I'm going to do it. All right, so, ladies and gentlemen, Brexit is important, okay? This is one of the most, I won't say one of the most important votes we've ever taken was the Brexit vote, but it really, really was a very central one. I want people to understand that no politician who exists right now has a clue how to handle Brexit. And that is okay. That is not the fault of politicians. I want people to be like, yeah, politicians are whatless because they don't know how to do. This is a pretty much unprecedented scenario in terms of our moving forward, our recent history politically. Understand a couple of things. Everyone who voted Brexit, you voted for your heart, you had your own reasons. I'm not here to tell you that you voted for this reason or that reason. You know why you voted, okay? And only you know why you voted. But please understand this. If we leave the EU, particularly if it's a hard exit from the EU without any significant deals in place, it's going to have ramifications on your day-to-day life in terms of your expenditures, the cost of your activities, the companies that situate themselves here, and therefore, you know, the companies that many of you work for or might aspire to work for. It's already happening. It's an issue. Migration. Yeah. The cost of goods, the importing, exporting. It's taken countries sometimes 10, 20 years to negotiate trade deals. And you want to leave without anyone's existing. Have you any idea how that's going to affect you? I don't think that a lot of people do. Please, people, educate yourselves on this. Now, I'm not saying that we have to go back and take a second vote, because I know a lot of people would turn around and say, well, then it's not democracy. We had a vote, we made a decision. And to be fair, much as I disagree with the decision, you are right. So I'm not going to disagree with it. I would be happy if we had a second vote, because I think it would give ourselves a chance to come back from the edge of a cliff. But I understand those who say that that would be undemocratic. So that's fair. But people, please understand what we're walking into, what we're walking away from, the ramifications. I'm not saying being part of the EU is a perfect scenario, but understand that it can be a lot worse if we're going it alone. And recognize that many people that sold Brexit, the Farages of this world, the Johnsons of this world, told you horrible ghetto lies. And I'm saying it openly. They lied to you. There's a reason why Farage effed off and is now an MEP in Europe after the Brexit vote came through. He got what he wanted. Is he over here standing? No. There's a reason. Please, people, understand that politicians will lie to you and politicians will tell you the truth. Educate yourself at every step. I have nothing more to say.
Well said. And I just need to shout out one of my favorite YouTube channels, which is a comedy, but it's an educational comedy, and it's Jonathan Pye.
Ho! All hail to Jonathan Pye.
This guy drops some seriousness, but in a comedic way. Anyway, yeah, it's a start in getting yourself educated.
Oh no, it is, and it's not a bad start either. It's not a bad one at all.
But yeah, no, thank you so much. This is the Real Conversation, objective dialogue. By no means are we right. We're not trying to be right. We're just trying to speak our opinion. We're trying to use whatever information we have or misinformation we have to open up the Real Conversation. So please comment in the YouTube, in the comment section and all that stuff there. Like and all that stuff there. Share and subscribe and all of that stuff there. Yeah, and we'll be back. Yeah, momentarily. Blessings.
Hi. You're watching a clip from a longer episode of The Real Conversation. If you enjoyed it, please like and don't forget to share so you can bring your friends in on the conversation. Also, don't forget to check out the full-length episodes at our channel on YouTube and get involved in the dialogue by commenting down below or by tweeting us at Real Conversation. Hope I'll see you guys soon. Peace out.